The old brass key felt strange in my hand as I approached the shed. It had been 6 months since Marissa's funeral, and I still couldn't bring myself to clear out her things. Her art supplies, her childhood trophies, the dusty journals on her shelves. They were all still there, untouched, suspended in time. Maybe part of me believed that if I left them alone, she might walk through the door one day, like none of it had ever happened. But today was different. Today, I was here for something important. My granddaughter, Lila, had asked me about the antique music box her mother used to wind every night. It was the one thing she remembered, the one sound that soothed her nightmares since she came to live with me. I stepped through the overgrown garden, autumn leaves crunching under my boots, the wind stirring up ghosts of a life once full. The padlock clicked open on the third try. The door creaked like it hadn't moved in years. The moment I stepped inside, that scent hit me. Cedar, old paper, and the faint trace of Marissa's favorite lavender oil. I stood there, hand still on the doorframe, trying to summon the courage to dig through her things. Then I heard it. "Grandma!" The whisper was so soft I almost thought I imagined it. "Grandma, please." I froze, my heart stopped. That voice, it sounded like Lila. But that couldn't be. I'd dropped her off at school myself this morning. She was supposed to be in class right now. I fumbled for my phone, turning on the flashlight, the beam shaking as I scanned the cluttered shed. My breath caught when the light landed on a small figure tucked into the corner. Purple fabric, Lila's favorite sweater. She was huddled against the wall, her tiny wrists bound with zip ties to an old radiator pipe. Her lips were blue, her skin ice cold, her dark hair a tangled mess around her tear-streaked face. "Lila!" I gasped, rushing forward, knocking over boxes and furniture in my panic. "Baby, oh my God, who did this to you?" She flinched when I touched her, but then collapsed into my arms, sobbing. I held her tight, trying to stop my hands from trembling as I worked at the zip ties. "Daddy said," she choked between sobs, "he said I had to stay quiet, like Mommy did." The world tilted, just like Mommy did. Marissa's accident, the fall down the basement stairs, had never made sense to me. But now, hearing those words from Lila, a terrible realization started forming like a storm on the horizon. "When did he bring you here?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "After school yesterday," she whispered. "He said I was being bad, like Mommy." I finally snapped the ties and wrapped her in my coat. Her body was lighter than I remembered, her collarbones sharp under my fingertips, malnourished, scared, broken. "Has this happened before, sweetheart?" I asked gently. She nodded against my shoulder. "Sometimes, when I make Daddy mad, or when I talk about the mean lady who visits." Mean lady, I filed that away for later. Right now, I had one mission, to get her safe. As I carried her out of the shed, my phone buzzed. I looked down. Trent, "Taking Lila to dinner tonight. Be there at 6 to pick her up." He had no idea I'd found her. I glanced down at Lila in my arms, at the red marks on her wrists, the fear still swimming in her eyes that looked just like Marissa's, eyes that must have held the same fear in those final months. "It's okay now," I whispered, kissing her forehead. But it wasn't. Nothing was okay. My daughter was dead. Her husband was a monster. And I'd been blind. Not anymore. I held Lila closer and walked faster toward the car, every step a vow that Trent would never lay a finger on her again. The emergency room lights were too bright. Lila sat on the exam table, her sweater sleeves rolled up, exposing bruises, rope burns, and skin far too thin for a child her age. I sat nearby, gripping my phone, waiting for the storm I knew was coming. The hospital staff had documented everything. Photos, reports. They didn't need convincing. The truth was written all over Lila's tiny body. My phone buzzed, not Trent, Finn. "Mom, what's going on? The school called. Said Lila never showed up today." I stepped into the hallway to take the call, glancing through the glass at Lila. "I found her," I said quietly. "In Marissa's storage shed. Trent left her there overnight." Silence. Then, "I'm on my way. Don't let that bastard near her." As if on cue, I heard the voice echoing down the hospital corridor. "Where's my daughter? I have every right to see her." Trent. His voice, always too smooth, too polished, bounced off the walls. He walked toward me in a tailored suit, the same one he wore to Marissa's funeral. Behind him was a woman I didn't recognize. Tall, blonde, dressed like she was headed to a board meeting. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Khloe," he said, as if we were friends. "What's this about? The school called about Lila." "Cut the act," I snapped. "I found her tied up, in the shed, where you left her." The woman beside him flinched. just for a second, before smoothing her expression into a mask of calm. Trent kept going, unbothered. That's ridiculous. Lila's been acting out lately, making up stories, just like her mother used to. He said it so casually, like it was nothing, like Marissa's death was just another inconvenience. The blonde stepped forward. "Mrs. Kardashian," she said coolly. "I'm Callie Rivers, Trent's colleague. Perhaps we could discuss this somewhere more private? For Lila's sake." Then it hit me, Marissa's voice 3 weeks before she died. "He's always working late with this woman from the office. Says I'm paranoid." I locked eyes with her. "You're the mean lady Lila mentioned." Callie's face lost all color. Behind her, Trent gripped her arm, tightly. I'd seen that gesture before in photos of him with Marissa. Controlling, possessive. "Mom." Finn's voice cut through the air as he stepped around the corner. He positioned himself between me and Trent, jaw clenched, eyes hard. A voice called out behind us. "Mr. Calloway," said the police detective, "we need to ask you some questions about your daughter's injuries." Trent's mask slipped. For a brief second, I saw the rage he usually kept hidden behind that perfect smile. "This is a misunderstanding," he snapped. "Khloe's clearly upset, imagining things. Grief does that." "The evidence isn't imaginary," I said, my voice low. "Neither are the videos from Marissa's phone." I was bluffing. I hadn't found any videos. But Trent flinched. Callie's hand twitched toward her purse. "We should go," she whispered to him. "Call your lawyer." As the officers led Trent away, I glanced back through the window. Lila was watching. Her face pale, her eyes full of quiet strength, just like Marissa's. I hadn't protected my daughter, but I would protect my granddaughter, even if it meant setting fire to everything Trent had built. 3 days passed like a blur. Lila remained in the hospital, under observation and protection. Child Protective Services began their interviews, and I was granted temporary custody. Not that I needed permission to care for her. She was already part of me. My heart beat. But even with Lila safe for now, I knew the danger wasn't over. Trent wasn't just cruel. He was calculated, dangerous. The kind of man who destroyed from the inside out. I'd seen it too late with Marissa. I refused to make the same mistake twice. So I started digging. Marissa's old laptop sat on my kitchen table like a landmine. I stared at it for hours, unsure whether I could bear what I might find. Eventually, Finn sat beside me and whispered, "I think she wanted us to know." He was right. Together we tried every password we could remember. Birthdays, pet names, old addresses. Nothing worked, until Finn typed in one final guess. Her wedding date. The laptop unlocked. Something in me shattered a little. Inside, the files were carefully labeled, neatly organized. Financial documents, personal journals, photo albums, and a folder called "In Case Something Happens." My heart stuttered. I opened the first video. Marissa's face filled the screen, eyes wide, voice barely above a whisper. "If anything happens to me," she said, "it wasn't an accident. Trent's been—" The video cut off. The timestamp read 3 days before her death. My hands trembled as I clicked the next one. This time, the camera pointed at Trent and Callie. They were in Marissa's home office, arguing. She'd hidden the phone and was recording from the hallway. "The money's gone, Trent," Callie hissed. "The board meeting is in 2 weeks. When they audit—" "I've already planted the evidence," Trent snapped. "Marissa's company will take the fall." I clutched the edge of the table. "Mom." Finn's voice snapped me out of my trance. He was flipping through a box of Marissa's old documents. "Bank statements," he said. "Look at these transfers. Some of them go back months. Offshore accounts." The pieces were clicking into place. This wasn't just abuse. This was fraud, cover-ups, and if the videos were true, murder. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. "Mrs. Kardashian?" a familiar voice asked. It was Callie. "What could you possibly want?" I said, ice in my voice. "We need to talk," she said, her voice breaking. "I have information about Marissa's death, but Trent, he's watching me. Can we meet, please? I'm pregnant and I'm terrified." I hesitated, then looked at Finn, who nodded. An hour later, I met her at the Riverside Cafe. Callie was a shadow of the woman I'd seen in the hospital. No longer polished and smug, but pale, withdrawn, hiding a bruise beneath her sweater collar. "He's losing control," she said without preamble. "The company's investigating financial discrepancies. He's blaming Marissa's business, but it was always him. She found out, and I think that's when he decided she had to go." She slid a small USB drive across the table. "It's security footage from the night she died." My phone buzzed, a text from Finn. "Mom, get home now. Trent's here." "I have to go," I told Callie, standing up in a rush. "Wait!" She grabbed my arm. "There's more. The board meeting. It's not just about the money. He's planning to frame Marissa's company for corporate espionage. Then we'll stop him before he does, I said. But just then the cafe window shattered. Glass exploded around us as a dark SUV sped off down the street. Callie screamed. A deep cut bled down her cheek. "He knows," she whispered. "Oh God, he knows I talked to you." I pulled her to her feet. "Come with me. You'll be safe. But we need your testimony." She shook her head, trembling. "I have to think about the baby." "You're already in this," I said firmly. "Help me stop him, or he'll destroy you too, just like he did Marissa." A long silence, then finally she nodded. "Okay, but we have to move fast." I pulled into my driveway like a woman possessed. The USB drive burned in my pocket. Callie sat beside me, hand on her belly, her fear etched into every line of her face. Through the front window I saw Finn inside, standing rigid, facing Trent, who was seated comfortably in my living room chair. The audacity of him sitting in my house, acting like he belonged there. "Stay here," I told Callie. She was already unbuckling her seatbelt. "No, he won't act out if I'm there, not in front of me." I didn't argue. She was right. He still needed to maintain his image. Inside, I found Trent talking in that same infuriatingly calm tone. "Khloe," he smiled, standing. "I was just telling Finn about my decision to seek full custody of Lila. You've clearly become unstable." "Unstable?" Finn nearly exploded. "You left her tied up in a shed." Trent shrugged. "Allegations, easily disproven." Then he saw Callie, and for the first time, he faltered. "What's she doing here?" he asked, his voice tightening. "She's telling the truth," Callie replied, though her voice shook. Trent stood straighter, adjusting his tie. "Careful, Callie. Think about your future." I stepped forward. I saw the footage from the night Marissa died. He didn't move, didn't even blink, but his hand twitched. That same tell I'd seen during poker nights years ago. He was bluffing. "What footage?" he asked evenly. "The cameras you didn't know about," Callie said. "Marissa installed them after she caught us, after she suspected something was wrong." Suddenly he moved, fast. He grabbed Callie's arm, pulled her close. Finn lunged forward. Trent held up his phone. "One call," he hissed, "and documents go public. Files that show Marissa's company stealing secrets. It'll ruin her name. Lila will have nothing." I froze. "Those documents are fake." "Doesn't matter," he said. "Scandal sticks." He wasn't wrong. Even lies leave stains. My mind raced. Then I pulled out my phone. "You're right. This ends now." I hit play. Marissa's voice filled the room. "If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident." Trent's face twisted. "That proves nothing," he growled. "No," I said, "but the security footage, the financial records, Callie's testimony, that proves everything." Silence stretched between us like a tightrope. Then I heard Marissa's voice again, not from the phone this time, but from memory. "Sometimes the best revenge is living well." I looked him in the eyes. "So what's it going to be?" Detective Sarah Chen spread out the evidence on my kitchen table like she was laying down a deck of cards in a high-stakes poker game. Security footage stills, Lila's medical photos, financial records, bank transfers, email printouts, each piece heavier than the last. "We have enough to arrest him," she said calmly, "but making it stick, that'll take more." Her tone was clipped, focused, but I could see the worry in her eyes. "His legal team is already spinning this," she added, "painting you as emotionally unstable." "I figured they would," I muttered, pushing away a photo of Lila's bruised wrist. "They're trying to destroy Marissa's memory the same way he destroyed her life." Finn was pacing behind us, phone pressed to his ear. "I understand the board's concerns," he said to someone, "but you need to look at the documents. He's not just a liar, he's a predator." He caught my eye and shook his head. "They're already falling for his version." Another buzz on my phone. "Callie, he knows I helped you. Says if I testify, I'll lose the baby." My grip tightened. "Detective," I said, swallowing the fury in my throat. "There's a pattern here, right? You said you found similar cases." She nodded. "We've connected him to at least 4 other women. All followed the same trajectory. Wealthy, independent. Then suddenly they fall. Financially, emotionally, physically. Accidents, suicides. Nothing ever stuck. Until now." Finn ended his call and turned to me. "We have another problem. Trent's lawyers are filing for emergency custody of Lila." "What?" My chair scraped hard against the floor. "He can't—" "He can try," Detective Chen interrupted, "and with the right judges, he might succeed." He was cornered, and when a man like Trent gets cornered, he doesn't fight fair. The room started spinning. My body knew the truth before my mind caught up. We were running out of time. Then, just like that, Callie stepped into the doorway. She looked like a ghost, but her chin was lifted, her back straight. One hand rested protectively over her belly. "I have the passwords," she said softly. Everyone froze. All of them, emails, servers, accounts. "You're sure?" Chen asked, standing up. Callie nodded. "I'm ready to testify. He's already after me. I won't let him win." I crossed the room, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Thank you," I whispered. She handed over a USB drive. "He kept everything," she said. "Marissa's death, the setup, the stolen funds, but we have to act now. He moved the board meeting. It's tonight." Before we could even respond, a loud crash echoed from the back of the house. Through the window, I saw two large men in dark suits heading toward the porch. "Trent's security," Detective Chen hissed. "Everyone out. Back door, now." As we slipped into the night, I clutched Marissa's laptop and Callie's drive like they were lifelines. We had one shot to end this. The boardroom was like something out of a movie. All glass and chrome and quiet judgment. Finn and I arrived first. Chen's cyber team was already inside, downloading the files from Trent's company servers using Callie's credentials. 5 minutes, someone said. "We'll have everything." But 5 minutes wasn't long enough, because Trent was already inside. The doors opened, and there he stood, all fake warmth and clean-cut charm, surrounded by lawyers and board members in $1,000 suits. "Khloe," he greeted me standing. "So glad you could make it. We were just discussing Marissa's company. Such a shame what it's become." "You mean the company you sabotaged?" I replied, stepping forward. I reached for the USB drive in my purse and walked toward the media screen, but before I could plug it in, one of the lawyers cleared his throat. "Mrs. Kardashian, please be advised, uploading stolen corporate data during an active investigation could be a criminal offense." "Stolen?" I asked. "This was taken from his system." "Unauthorized," he corrected smoothly. Trent's smile grew wider. "We're only trying to protect you, Khloe. Your behavior has become erratic. False claims, harassing my staff, attempted kidnapping." My jaw clenched. "She was chained in a shed." "On your property," another lawyer chimed in, after numerous threatening emails to Mr. Calloway. I looked around the room and saw the worst. Heads nodding, faces frowning. They believed him. "Play the footage," Finn said firmly. But Trent raised his hand. "Ah, yes, the alleged footage, the mysterious files showing me—" "Doing what exactly?" He smirked. "Our forensic team reviewed the material. Incomplete, altered, misdated, convenient." My phone buzzed. "Chen, Callie's missing. Original files are gone. Corrupted, tampered. We've been hacked." The floor dropped out beneath me. He'd erased everything. Trent turned to me, tone still light. "Now, you're clearly grieving. We can all understand that. But if you drop this now, sign over temporary custody of Lila while you seek the help you need, we can avoid pressing charges." "You murdered her," I said, voice shaking. "You killed Marissa." He leaned forward slightly. "Don't dishonor her memory with these delusions." His eyes were cold, so very cold. Then he added, "Oh, and the hospital called. Lila's been asking for her father." He smiled. The threat landed like a fist to the chest. He was using Lila to control me, just like he used Marissa, just like he tried to use Callie. In that moment, I saw it all so clearly. Trent didn't just lie. He reshaped reality, and people followed him because he made them feel safe, right up until the moment he destroyed them. "Mom," Finn whispered, "let's go. We'll find another way." I nodded slowly, heart pounding, grief thick in my throat. We turned to leave. "Khloe," Trent called after me, "you've already lost." My phone buzzed again. Unknown number, video message. I opened it. A grainy clip loaded. Callie, bruised, terrified, holding today's newspaper. "I have proof, the real proof, but we only have one chance." I stared at the screen, then at Finn, and I remembered the way Lila looked in that shed. I remembered Marissa's voice, trembling but defiant. I remembered why we were fighting, and I knew it wasn't over. Not yet. We met in the one place I never thought I'd return to, Marissa's art studio. It had sat untouched since her death. Canvas scraps stacked against the walls, dried brushes still in water jars, notes and sketches taped to the mirror in her gentle handwriting. I used to come here to grieve. Today, it became our war room. Callie stood near the window, a hood pulled low over her face. The video she sent had been filmed in her bathroom. She confessed as much when she arrived, shaking but determined. "He found the drive I gave you," she whispered. "But I had another." From her bag, she pulled out a small cloud storage device. I made a hidden upload every night after our meetings, just in case. Finn took it and passed it to Detective Chen, who had joined us again, quietly, after her department was pressured to back off. She hooked it to her laptop. Click, download. A hush fell over the room. Then we saw it. Everything. Recordings from Trent's office. Him and Callie talking about the money, the plan to push blame onto Marissa's company. Voice messages threatening Callie. Financial ledgers cross-referencing bank accounts. Photos of bruises on Callie's arms. But most devastating of all, a video from Marissa's phone. It showed Trent shouting at her, cornering her at the top of the basement stairs. "You ruined everything," he spat. Marissa, crying, replied, "You did this, you and Callie." His voice lowered into something cruel. "Then maybe it's time to clean up." The camera shook, the phone fell, a scream, then silence. We didn't need to see the impact. We already knew. Detective Chen turned to Callie. "Will you testify?" Callie hesitated, then she nodded. "I'm done being scared." The courtroom was packed. Even after all this, Trent came dressed like a man who believed he could win. Crisp tie, Rolex watch, cool stare. But when Callie walked in, visibly pregnant, bruises faded but not forgotten, and sat beside me, something shifted. She took the stand first. She told them everything. The manipulation, the affair, the cover-up, the threats. The jury leaned in. Then Chen presented the evidence, and finally I was asked to testify. I stood, heart thudding in my chest, and took my oath. "I'm Khloe Kardashian," I said clearly, "and I am the mother of Marissa, who died under Trent Calloway's roof." I looked over at Trent. He didn't blink. "My daughter was beautiful, brilliant, and deeply kind. She made excuses for this man. She trusted him with her child, and he betrayed her in the worst way imaginable." My voice cracked, but I didn't stop. "He isolated her, lied to her, frightened her, and then he killed her." Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. "But she left us the truth," I said, lifting my chin. "And today, you all saw it. She made sure her voice would be heard, even if it meant speaking from beyond the grave." I looked at the jury, at the judge, at the people who mattered. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for justice, for my daughter, and for Lila, who still wakes up from nightmares whispering, "Be quiet like Mommy." At those words, Trent finally flinched. His lawyer tried to object. The judge overruled. The gavel came down harder than thunder when the verdict was read. Guilty. All charges. Fraud, manslaughter, child endangerment, corporate theft. Sentencing came fast. 40 years without parole. I didn't celebrate. I didn't cry. I simply stood still, holding Lila's tiny hand. It was over. A year later, the house is quieter now. The drama, the fear, the storm, all behind us. What remains is something quieter, simpler, sweeter. Lila just turned 8. She still draws pictures of her mommy. Sometimes angels, sometimes flowers, always with Marissa's warm eyes. We framed one above her bed. Finn moved closer, now living just 5 blocks away. He stops by with groceries, new toys, stories that make Lila giggle until her face turns red. Callie had her baby, a little girl. She named her Grace. We talk often. She visits sometimes, helping Lila with schoolwork, bringing extra cookies and soft smiles. And me? I finally started painting again. It's not always easy. The grief still sits in the quiet corners, but the guilt is gone. The helplessness has faded. In its place is something stronger, resolve. Marissa once told me years ago, "Mom, if anything ever happens to me, promise you won't let my voice disappear." I didn't understand what she meant then, but now I do, because she didn't disappear. Her voice lived on in Lila, in every laugh that bubbles up during bedtime stories, in every time we bake her favorite lemon scones, in the breeze that flows through her art studio when the windows open and the light hits just right. She's here, and I kept my promise.